What's up, guys? Today I've got a very special video for you guys. I'm going to be going through a complete beginner gym guide so that you can get into the gym today with the least amount of friction possible. This is how you're actually going to start, how you're actually going to take action, and what's actually going to get you into the gym. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I've broken this down into 9 parts: the start, training, nutrition, recovery, useful supplements, mindset, how long it takes, a bit of a mindset, and then a recap. So we're going to start with number 1, just the most important part. I'm going to have a sip before we get in. It's so good. So the biggest and most important part when it comes to getting into the gym is just starting. That is going to be the hardest part, is just getting into the gym, getting those first few exercises in, being willing to look stupid because no one's going to be perfect at first. But the more that you plan and the more that you overthink is just the less likely chance that you have to get into the gym. So you don't need any of these big workout routines, these big plans yet, the perfect routine. Just get into the gym, start experimenting, be willing to look stupid. I promise you it's not that scary. Most people in the gym are actually willing to help out beginners. No one's going to be looking at you. And yeah, this is the biggest thing. Just start. I promise you, you'll figure out the rest of the nitty-gritty stuff later. And I'll go through a little bit of it today. But if you take one thing from this video, it's that you just need to start. And once you start, you're not going to stop. Another thing on just starting is that it's not going to be perfect action at first. This is going to be imperfect action, but that's the point. This is the only way for you to learn, for you to progress in the gym. So just take that first step, take the imperfect action so that later you can have perfect action. So now let's get into a bit more technical stuff. And we're going to start with training. So we'll start with how often. And this kind of depends on your schedule. It really is personal preference. The only rule that you really need to know here is that you want to be training each muscle group. So for example, your biceps twice a week. So you could do that in an upper lower split where you're hitting upper twice a week and legs twice a week. You could do that in a push-pull legs. That's probably the most common one, but then you have to go 6 days a week. You could do an Arnold split. The split is not important. The first thing that you need to do to figure out your split is just how many days a week that you can go. And I recommend starting with 4. I think it's a very sustainable number that most people can hit. I recommend doing an upper lower split. That's what I do. You're going to be able to hit all your muscle groups twice a week, and it's an enjoyable split. But don't stress about this too much. Just get in the gym, do what you enjoy, and just have the 2 times a week frequency in the back of your head. So the next thing we're going to go over is low volume and high frequency and longer rest times. So a lot of people, when they go to the gym, they're going to just get a set rep range. They're going to have a bunch of sets they have to do. Excuse me. And this is not what you want to do, because you're just going to be causing acute muscle damage that you don't need, when really you should be doing less volume, taking longer to rest, and trying to get the most out of your sets. This is how you're going to recruit the most motor unit recruitment with the least amount of muscle damage. Contrary to popular belief, you don't want muscle damage in the gym. This has nothing to do. There's no correlation to gains whatsoever. It's honestly going to slow down your progress. So don't chase that feeling of feeling sore after. Obviously, you're going to feel sore when you're hitting a new muscle group. So don't worry if you're sore at first. But after you train for a little bit, you won't get sore anymore. And once you don't get sore, you're still building muscle. Don't worry. Being sore is not indicative of muscle growth. So I recommend doing 1 to 2 sets per exercise and resting between 3 to 5 minutes. That way you can push harder during your sets and get the most out of your sets. And this high frequency here is just, again, touching on the 2 times a week frequency. So this is just kind of to rule out the bro split where you're just doing every muscle group once a week. You don't want to do that. You want to be hitting your muscle groups 2 times a week. You could even do 3 times a week. But higher frequency, low volume, longer rest times. This is the gold here. This is what people take years to figure out, because they get thrown to the gym, do the craziest workout plans, and it takes a while for people to figure this out. It took me a while to figure this out, but this is what actually works. I've done both styles, and I can tell you from experience that this is what actually works. And speaking on next thing we're going to talk about is progressive overload and learning to push. So these are, again, 2 more things that actually matter. Progressive overload is just a concept you're getting a little bit better every session. This could be in the form of increasing the weight, increasing the reps, keeping more consistent form, just doing better than you did last week. And as you're first starting into the gym, you should most likely be progressively overloading every session. So increasing the number of reps, increasing the weight by a little bit. That is how you know that you're actually building muscle. This is the number one driver of building muscle, is progressive overload. Another thing that can take a little bit to learn is just learning to push yourself. You might think that you're going to failure or you can't do any more reps, but it can be hard to figure out how many reps you can actually do until you truly learn to push. So that's why when people start going to the gym, I recommend training as close to failure as you can, just to learn what it feels like to not be able to push any more weight. So as you first get into the gym, I would stay in the 5 to 10 rep range and push to failure. So just go until you can't go anymore. Those are the main things. There's lots of other little tips that you can get into, but this is just the main thing. If you're doing these two things, you're going to gain muscle in the gym. The next thing we're going to talk about is exercise selection. So you don't need to really overthink this. When you're first starting into the gym, you're going to want to be doing, or people are just going to want to put you on these crazy exercise programs. And to be honest, the exercise selection does not matter too much. It's pretty hard to have a bad exercise unless you're going off these Instagram reels and these short form videos, but it's pretty hard to mess up the exercise selection. I could get into a specific routine if you guys want to in another video, but it's really not that hard. Just use your head. Honestly, just copy any routine and just get familiar with these exercises. It's not gonna really matter, like, as long as you're hitting every muscle group well, but don't feel like you need to do main compound movements. I mean, as a beginner, they could be good for you to learn or they could be fun, but don't feel like you need to. Honestly, stick with machines. They're going to be the most stable, and just make sure that you're hitting every single muscle group. I can go more in depth than this, but I just didn't want to go too far into exercise because this is where people get confused and where they start to get overwhelmed with all the exercises when really it does not matter that much as long as you're hitting the muscle. And the last thing is just form and safety. So this is a common problem when people first get into the gym, is ego lifting. I was a subject to this. So just keep your form in check. I know you're going to be trying to progressively overload, but progressively overload while keeping your form the same the whole time. If you're just going to be ego lifting, you're not even going to be training the right muscles. And the biggest thing is you're just going to set yourself up for injury down the road. This has happened to me. So just make sure your form is in check and train to grow your muscles, not your ego. Okay, great. So we've covered the training basics. It's not that hard. Don't overcomplicate this. Just get in the gym. You can follow these principles lightly. And the next and more arguably most important thing is nutrition. So for nutrition, I recommend that everyone tracks their calories for at least 2 months, just so you start to know how many calories you're eating. But if you're just implementing the gym, you don't need to implement this right away, but it's just something that you should do in your beginner phase. You don't have to do it for the rest of your life. You can if you like it, but it's just something that I recommend everyone does. But I'm just gonna kind of go over the main pillars of nutrition. The easiest and one of the most important things is just getting enough protein. And I think everyone knows this about gym people. And you're gonna want your protein to be 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So if you're 180 pounds, anywhere from 160 to 180 grams of protein a day, just get enough. This is why I would like you to track your calories at first, so you know how much protein you're eating. Because for so long, I would actually overeat protein. I would eat way more than I needed. And it wasn't until I started tracking my calories that I realized I didn't need that much, and I could get some more I can get some more calories in better places like carbs, so I can feel my workouts better. And for calories, if you don't understand what calories in, it's what fuels your energy. Protein, fats, and carbs all make up calories, with fats having 9 grams, fats having 9 calories per gram, and protein carbs having 4 calories per gram. So this is why if you track your food, you get to know this sort of stuff. You'll learn this all by tracking your calories. But the reason you also want to track your calories is to figure out your maintenance calories. So There's three things that you can do with calories. You can be in a surplus to gain size, you can be in a deficit to lose weight, or you can be at your maintenance to maintain. And this is going to depend on what you're going to do. And it's pretty self-explanatory. If you're overweight, you're going to want to be in a bit of a calorie deficit to recomp your body at first. You don't want to, if you're already fat, you have a bit of a dad bod, you don't want to just get in a surplus in bulk because you're just going to put on more fat. You don't need more fat. So if you're just getting to the gym and you're overweight, I recommend just being in a calorie surplus for a bit, losing that weight, maybe utilizing some Retta if you need. Actually, don't think about that kind of stuff yet. But yeah, just be in a calorie surplus. It would be better for you to lose the weight first and then go into a bit of a surplus. But you don't even technically need a calorie surplus to gain muscle. It's a bit of a misconception, but it can help. And maintenance, this is where you're going to want to be at most of your time. Just at your maintenance calories. This is why if you track and you know how much, it's good to know what your maintenance is, and then after that you can kind of eat intuitively. But yeah, these are just the three things that you need to know about calories and what you can do with them. So yeah, don't overcomplicate nutrition. Just eat, get enough protein, don't overconsume calories. And one thing I didn't include here is just eating whole foods. So something that grew from the ground, grew from a tree, or had a mom and dad. That's what you're going to want most of your diet to consist of to get the adequate macro and micronutrients. So just stick to whole foods, get your protein in, and eat your calories depending on your goals. Next up is going to be recovery. First thing we're going to talk about is sleep. And sleep is going to be super important for muscle gains and for nutrition, because when you get a poor sleep, it actually raises your ghrelin, which makes you hungry, and it lowers your leptin, which is your satiety hormone. So when you get less sleep, these two hormones kind of work against you and make you more hungry. And if you're trying to be in a deficit, it makes your life a lot harder. It also really messes up your growth pathways. There's a study done where people had less sleep and more sleep and trained the same amount and were in a calorie deficit. And the people who got less sleep lost muscle rather than fat. And the people who were in the good sleep category, we're losing more fat rather than muscle. So sleep is so important, especially if you're trying to body recomp or lose any weight. Get your sleep in. It's non-negotiable. We shouldn't still be struggling with sleep in this day and age. And rest days. Rest days are also important. This is when your body's actually going to have the time to make those neural adaptations where your muscles are actually going to grow. So they're just as important, but don't worry about having the perfect rest days. Again, I recommend just training however you want. If you don't want to do rest days because you're loving it so much, you don't have to. You probably should, but I don't want to just tell people to get out of the gym. But if your muscles are sore, it's probably a good idea that you take a rest day. Your training's not going to be as effective. Yeah, you just need to allow time for your muscles to recover. And the next thing is going to be stretching. And I just want to talk about this. Don't spend an hour at the start of every workout stretching because you're worried about getting injured. To be honest, it's not that important unless you're doing big compound movements like deadlift and squats. And then you can do a proper warm-up, but that doesn't need to be a bunch of static stretching. For warming up, you're just going to want to do the exercise at a low weight to get your muscles ready. But you don't need to spend a long time doing some big stretching routine. This isn't going to be that important. So don't overemphasize on this. You can stretch if you want, but just don't spend all your time there. And the next thing we're going to talk about is supplements. So I debated putting this into the video, but I'm just gonna talk about it. Don't worry about these at first. This isn't gonna make or break your gym progress, but I just thought I'd put it in anyways. So just get in the gym first, and you can worry about the supplements after. In my opinion, the best thing you can take is pre-workout, and this is just going to be caffeine with a few other ingredients. But taking caffeine pre-workout, as long as you train in the morning, will really increase your workout quality. You're going to be able to push more. You're going to feel better. Pre-workout is probably my favorite supplement, so this is the one I would start with. And next thing we're going to talk about is protein powder. So protein powder, this isn't like a supplement that you need to put on muscle. It's just supplement your diet. So if you're not getting enough protein from your whole foods, which I recommend trying to get from, you can supplement with a protein powder to just get some extra protein in quick and easy. Again, this isn't going to help you build muscle in any way unless you're not getting enough protein. So it's a big misconception. You don't need to just take protein and you're going to gain more muscle. It's just to supplement if you're already not getting enough protein. And the last one is creatine. Creatine, I'm sure you guys have all heard about it. It's gonna add about 15%, I think, to your lifts because it increases your ATP system. It's also gonna help you hold more water, so you're gonna look a little bit more full. And there's lots of studies showing up that it's good for your brain as well. So this is it's also dirt cheap. So this is a supplement that I also recommend everyone takes. Even if you're not in the gym, there's really no downsides. Start with 5 milligrams a day. You can experiment with more if you want more brain function. But yeah, all these supplements, good to have. If I was going to get it, I'd get it in order of pre-workout creatine, then protein powder. But again, you don't need any of these, especially you don't need protein powder. But yeah, and the general health, just magnesium, D3, omega-3s. I've explained these in other videos and go more in depth, but those are just general health supplements. But yeah, don't overdo it. Don't spend all your money on these supplements that you think are going to make a big difference. They're not. Like, supplements are not going to do that much for you unless they're special supplements, if you know what I mean. But yeah, don't waste your money on these. Spend your time in the gym. Don't worry about all these peptides yet. Just start training, and then you can delve into that world more. Okay, mindset. So these are just going to be some important mindset things to have. Just show up consistently. Don't train religiously for a few weeks and then stop for a few weeks. Just be consistent, even if that's 3 times a week or even 2 times a week. That's better over a long period of time than doing these like little motivation phases and then stopping. So just show up consistently. Be patient. You're not going to notice results right away, but that's kind of why this thing is so rewarding, because it does take time to see your first results, but that's what makes it a lot more special. Is a lot of people aren't willing to be patient in this day and age. So if you can just be patient, take time, enjoy the process as well. If you enjoy the process, you're going to get a lot farther than if you're just looking for the destination. So yeah, enjoy the journey. Don't think about the destination. The people who make it are the people that like showing up consistently. Don't always think about the end goal. You can have it in mind, but just worry about the process first, and then the destination will come. So how long does it take though? To be honest, you're not going to really notice a real change until a few months in, and then you're not going to really look like you work out until about 6 to 12 months. I'm not saying this to discourage you, but just don't get discouraged if you've only been going for a few weeks. You don't really notice much. So yeah, just don't quit at 3 weeks. This is where a lot of people quit. Just keep showing up, and it will be worth it in the long run. Number 8 is just stop overthinking. Stop worrying about these supplements, doing things like fasted cardio, meal timing, finding the perfect split. Just stop. Just take action. You'll figure this sort of stuff out as you go. Like, all this niche stuff is not going to be a big difference maker. They're just all little rocks when you should be focused on the big rocks at first. Here's some of my mistakes that I did. Again, eating too much protein and then just trying to optimize the perfect program. I spent so much time planning the perfect program before I started getting into the gym just because I thought it would help. But in reality, I looked stupid anyways, and I would have been better off if I just started earlier. And the point, all this stuff that I've gone over doesn't really matter yet. Just get in the gym. You'll start to figure this stuff out. You can use this as a rough guide, but none of this stuff really truly matters. Or it matters, but you're going to figure it out as you go. So just start. So just to recap, tying it all together, training, just push yourself, train your muscles 2 times a week. Nutrition, eat whole foods, get your protein in, start tracking calories, learn what a surplus, a deficit, and maintenance feels like. Recover, make sure you're sleeping well, take rest days, don't worry about stretching. For supplements, you can experiment with pre-workout creatine, protein powder. Just have the mindset that you're going to keep going no matter what. Think about the journey, not the destination. And just stop overthinking. Just get into the gym. So my call to action for you is to just start. Just go to the gym. Do a few exercises. You don't even have to have a workout split. Just go to the gym, pay for a drop-in, pay for a membership so you feel committed, and then just play around. You're going to look stupid at first. Everyone does. Don't worry about it too much. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this guide. That's it for it. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them in the comments below. And please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, got anything out of it, and subscribe. Hope you guys all have a blessed day.